What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Nick Smith here with another episode of Phenomenal Views. Welcome. So, there is a new remake. And you all know what's coming. This is my review for the remake of Poltergeist. Now take it. I have not watched, before I decided to go watch this movie, before I went and watched it, I decided I was going to do whatever I could to watch the original Poltergeist. And it scared the crap out of me. There was mystery, there was so many good scares, and it was just perfect. It was a good PG or PG-13 horror movie. It was so good. Now we get the remake. This remake was bad. Horribly bad. Here's the main problem with the movie. Too much CGI. Let me rephrase that again. Too much CGI. When we have great horror moments in these films, like in the original Poltergeist, the tree scene was all animatronic and maybe a teeny bit CG, but it looked real. There was no doubt. I believe that this tree was actually coming alive and taking the kid. Whereas in this, it's a computer-generated thing. Just because we live in an era where we have things like green screens, of course, so we've had green screens for a while, but just because computer technology has gotten better, that doesn't mean you always have to do it. Half of the scares in this movie are computer-generated. Except for the clown scare. The clown scare in the movie actually is the only scare that got me. Everything else I could call was going to happen. Ugh. Now, this movie is obviously filled with a lot of jump scares. There is, maybe, in my personal opinion, there's like 1 or 2 jump scares that are earned in this film. Everything else is cheap. Okay, for example, there is a scene in this movie, they have the girl talking in the TV like, like usual, but there is a time in the movie where the TV gets shut off and they have her talking more through more things than just the TV. We see her through more than that. For example, a lamp gets knocked over and you see her shadow. And I thought, okay, this is actually really cool. I actually thought this was an interesting idea. And they explain to the little brother in the movie like how she's there in the house with them, but she's not with them. She's in a different plane. She's on the astral plane, or something like that. For those who have watched the episode of an episode of Charmed where Leo and Piper get sent to the astral plane, they're there on the same planet in the same house as the other sisters and their friends, but where Piper and Leo are at, the sisters are not. And where the sisters are, Leo and Piper are there, but they can't see them. So, when the lamp gets knocked over and the daughter is screaming and running from all these ghosts, you see her shadow move, and the dad goes after it. And I honestly thought this jump scare was a little bit earned, but I knew it wasn't really her. But the dad goes up and touches her, and I was like, jump scare, it's a jump scare. Yep, of course. But I liked the idea that led up to that scare. Now, the best character in this movie is the dad. The guy, I think his name is Sam. His real name is Sam. He does his best. He cracks jokes. He gives us that false sense of okayness, if that makes any sense. A horror movie always needs to give us a sense of calm before the crap starts to happen. And he does that. He is the best thing in this movie. But now, this remake focuses more on the son, whereas in the original it was kind of all focused on the girl, but at the same time it was also all focused on the parents. This, it's mostly all focused on the boy and his sister. And one thing, I know that these are just kid actors, and I'm honestly trying my best to not give them a hard time. But compared to the cast of the original, the cast of the original was so much better. The little girl actually looked creepy. She acted creepy. She's not as creepy as the boy who played Michael Myers in the remake of Halloween, but she still had that creepiness about her. However, with this, the girl who plays the little girl in the movie is too cute. She's too cute. And, you know, even like when she's starting to act creepy, it's still cute. She's still cute. She's not creepy. And that was one of the things about the original that I loved so much. The little girl was creepy, and the scene with "They're here," that movie gave me goosebumps, and I watched it yesterday. All right, so I'm gonna go through the rest of the characters. We have the sister, who is an annoying little brat. She's a regular it's a regular teenage daughter cliche. You know, oh, I hate the world. Oh, Dad, you're ruining my life. Oh, I need my phone. You owe me a new cell phone. I need my cell phone, Dad. I need my cell phone. Oh. But now, instead of in the original, how they kind of created the mystery of maybe the kids are just messing with stuff around, and then it leads to the poltergeist, this movie just kicks you into high gear. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad, but the original had so much mystery to it. Like, in the beginning of the movie, like, the breakfast, they're having breakfast, and when the mom says, "Put your chairs in," she turns around and then she turns back, and the chairs are spread out again. And they start creating the mystery, like, well, maybe it's just the kids messing around. You know, maybe even though the movie is entitled Poltergeist, they create this mystery that maybe the kids are messing around with some things. But no, like in this movie, there's no doubt that the poltergeist is causing crap. You know, they just throw it at your face. Okay. Here's where things got really bad. And I've already talked about the tree scene. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. Probably one of the only two scares that I liked, or one of the only two things that I liked, was that scene with the shadows and this first scare, but it was ruined by the CGI. The daughter is on her new cell phone, and the poltergeist, like the ghosts and everything, the poltergeist starts messing with electronic crap, and she's getting bad frequency. So she's going around the room like this, trying to get better frequency, but the more closer to the activity she gets, the louder the frequency gets. So she goes to the garage, and then she turns to the floor, and she starts listening, and then there's a crack in the floor. And she pulls up this piece of cement block, and all this mud and dirt starts coming up. And then behind her is a CGI ghost. And it looked awful. And then they actually did something that I actually didn't mind. They did this whole thing like where the dead starts coming out and dragging the daughter down. I actually thought that was cool, but then when they start showing the CGI ghost, it ruins it. It ruined it. Do you guys remember the movie The Conjuring? That had maybe one or two scenes of CGI. Everything else, the ghosts were actors in makeup, dressed like the ghosts, and they looked real. There was maybe one or two scenes that had CGI, but you couldn't tell because it was so good. This looked cheap and retarded. The CGI is so freaking bad. Okay, so they also, in the beginning of the movie, throw out the fact that they are living on a cemetery ground. The mom and dad go to this party, and this is when the little girl, or this is when the babysitter is, when the sister is babysitting. And, you know, they're talking about, so you live in that new house, right? Or you live in that old house, right? Yeah. One of my neighbors used to live there. It actually used to be a cemetery. But, you know, they moved everything. You mean they moved everything, right? You mean the headstones and the bodies? Oh, yeah. Well, earlier on in the film, the dad does have a few good jokes. There is a scene where the little girl is digging, I guess they're digging up for a garden or something, and they find something, and the son's like, what's this? And the dad starts messing with it and playing with it in front of his wife and everything, and the little kid puts it back, and it was a piece of a skeleton. So you instantly know that it's poltergeist activity. Another thing that I personally thought ruined this movie is they cheapen a lot of the scares from the original. Whereas in the original, it was all atmosphere, and yes, some of it was puppetry, but it looked real. It looked scary, it looked creepy, whereas in this, it just looked cheap and tacky. So, for example, the scene where the person is setting up the paranormal activity stuff, and he's wanting to make something to eat, so he goes to make a mistake, but then maggots come out and start going all over, and it makes him go to throw up. And when he goes to the sink, he washes water on his face, and then he notices there's a cut, and he starts picking at it and peeling his skin off until you can see his skeleton. That scene is ruined when the dad is, because the daughter has been taken, he starts drinking a little bit more. And he drinks too much of it. And it's like when you drink too much pop and you have that gas build up in your throat. Except this might have been burning his throat because it was Jack Daniels. So he starts coughing it up, and then he starts washing his face. And then you see in the reflection of the faucet, his eye, like mud and worms are coming out of his eyes and out of his mouth, and worms and everything is coming out of the sink. And when I seen this was my exact words. Fail. Oh my gosh. Now, as for the paranormal investigators, I didn't mind them as much, except this one kid. The guy who was supposed to do the face peeling scene. Him in this movie, he goes up to the little boy and he's like, your dad's not so bad. You want to know how your dad's been down on his luck. You want to help him get some money? The kid's like, how do I do that? He says, you know, you could film this and put it online and people wouldn't. So what if it was fake? It would stream worldwide. It would be amazing. You would get lots of money. And he's like, the little kid's like, we don't want money. We don't want a reality show. We just want my sister back. And I hated this guy for saying that. I was like, you don't go up to a kid who is going through a traumatic experience and tell them some way on how to make themselves rich off of their tragedy. And they did this other scene, like where the guy is trying to find a place to put more electronics in the closet because of that's where the activity is. Well, he does it and he drops the drill inside the wall, and of course, like an idiot, he puts his arm inside, and of course the ghost starts pulling at him, and then the ghost starts drilling holes in the wall, and each time it gets closer and closer to his face, and then the ghost lets him go, and then it's gone. That scare I actually didn't mind, but still, it was predictable as heck. Now, another thing I'm actually going to say that I liked a little bit was how they got the little girl to go into the closet. Whereas in the original, she is getting sucked by this force and she's hanging onto her bed. In this, when all the stuff is going down, when the mom and dad are gone to the party, the brother who has just been scared to death by these clowns, he's running downstairs, he's trying to find his sister Kendra, and the little girl is sitting there with her toys, and she doesn't look creepy, she looks too cute. She's adorable. Okay. And so he's like, I'm gonna go find Kendra. She's like, don't leave me here, don't leave me here. And she's holding on to her favorite stuffed toy, which is actually a pig with a unicorn horn on it. And the toy starts rolling into the closet. And I liked how they did this, like where a little kid feels brave with their stuffed toys around them. I actually kind of liked that. That I actually thought was kind of cool. and she walks into the closet, and the more she walks, the toy goes farther and farther until the scene is ruined by the horrible CG arms, and they take her in there. And I was just like, oh, come on, that was a good scene, and you have to ruin it with the CG! Okay, so, also, in this reality, the paranormal investigator, you know, the main expert, is a guy on a reality show. It's like a sci-fi Ghost Adventures crap, and the daughter is a humongous fan of his, so when they bring him in, she's like, oh my gosh. Ah! It's like a girl who's obsessed with Justin Bieber. She's a believer. I swear, she's like a believer with this guy. And so, like, they do this whole thing. The dad actually finds the portal because he gets angry, and he's like, you know, you can't have her. You can't have her. And once again, he is very good in this movie. I believed everything with his character. He finds the portal, and then they get this brilliant idea to take this drone, which the kid was flying throughout the movie. They decide to take a GPS, because they were going to monitor each person in the house. So, all right, we're going to put this GPS on you, this little traveling GPS, and we'll know where to find you. So they get the idea that they are going to have the kid fly the drone into this other plane and find the girl. Guys, I didn't honestly know that astral planes had Wi-Fi. You know, I really didn't know that. You know what I call? Bull crap. Bull crap? Bull crap. And so, of course, the drone gets destroyed, and so instead of the mom going in after the daughter, the brother does, because they're throughout this whole movie, they're talking about he might need therapy because he's so scared of everything. So he's like, no, I left her alone. I'll go after her. And he goes after her, and of course, he brings her out, and then we get the scene where the kids wake up, and finally, this is the only scene where the teenage daughter acts like she gives a crap, because throughout the rest of the movie, she's like, you're ruining my life, Dad. I need a cell phone. It's the age of technology, the age of cell phone. I need my cell phone. I need Facebook. Every time she talked, I was just like, I freaking hate you. I freaking hate you. I freaking hate you. So then I honestly thought this was going to be the end of the movie. They get in the car and they're like, we're getting out of here. Say the line. Oh gosh. Do you remember in the original when after everything was said and done, the woman's like, this house is clear. And you got this feeling sense that everything was okay. In this, it's a cheap one-liner. The daughter's like, say the line. I don't want this on camera. Say the line. This house is clean. And then the daughter's like, but it's not, Mommy. The ghost didn't go to the light because I didn't, so now they're even more mad. And so with this, like, the car starts getting thrown in the garage, and in order to guide the ghost to the light, the paranormal investigator sacrifices himself, and everything is fine. However, there was one funny joke, a really funny joke that I actually liked at the end of the movie. It's them after all this has happened, and they're trying to find new property. Well, they find this big house with this creepy tree, and the kid's looking at the tree like, And so, like, the woman is going over the details, like, and you're gonna love this tree. It's been here longer than the house. Hello? And I actually thought that was kind of funny. The family drives off, and they're like, no way, let's get out of here. Guys, this remake was honestly uncalled for. It really was. It was timeless, and now this has a date on it. It's not going to be timeless anymore, thanks to this remake. I'm going to give this movie a D- because of a couple things I liked. Just for a couple things. Everything else ruined it. A D- is what this movie gets. Guys, put in the comments below, what did you think about the remake of Poltergeist? Do you think I should give it a higher grade? I honestly want to know what you guys think. Put in the comments below, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, guys. Have a good day.